What's on the menu for today?
Connor, what a weekend of football we got.
Jeez, was it ever?
Your Ottawa GGs made it real close on you. Uh,
I was sweating. I was sweating.
no, I mean, you look at the scoreboards, and if you're just stat sheet surfing, Laurier, Carleton, like, yeah, that was a blowout. You'd be right. Carleton, we'll get into that one first, but Queens Toronto was a closer game, and then Queens just piled it on late, right?
Yeah.
But the Ottawa game, that was a roller coaster. So we're saving that one for last.
Stress levels were high, let me tell you.
No, I could just picture you pacing in your house.
I was up and down, up and down.
Should have made sure you had your Fitbit on, Connor. Would have logged.
Would have been getting the steps in.
Let's talk about Laurier and Carleton, though. 41-13, Golden Hawks advance. They will play Western next week in the OUA semifinal. Taylor Elgersma, Connor. We talked about this in the pregame, the preview show, where we said, like, if he gets it going deep, watch out. He got it going deep. 21 of 28, 303, 2 touchdowns. The run game was going as well, as they were well over 200 yards rushing on the day.
Yeah, they had a combined 500 yards of total offense in this game. 500 yards total offense. It was an absolute offensive showing from these Laurier Golden Hawks.
It was. And I mean, when we look at Elgersma's receivers, Raiden Thorne had the play of the week.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That leaping catch in the end zone was fantastic.
The clip will be going up right here.
He and Ethan Jordan both had 93 yards and a touchdown. Peterman, of course, McAlpine. The team itself was just clicking. And this is the Laurier team that we kind of expected to come out last week against Queens, right? On the defensive side of the ball, they only had 1 sack, but they had a lot of pass breakups.
Yeah, I think that was the kind of the key for me. Like, in watching this game back, watching the Laurier defense, like, sure, the sack numbers aren't high. I think they only had 1 sack in the game, no interception, stuff like that. But their DBs were all over the field. They were breaking up passes left, right, and center. Yeah, sure, Tanner completed over 200 yards passing, but still, they really couldn't find an offensive rhythm downfield. And I think Laurier did a really good job of just allowing Carleton to play how they were going to play and just taking away the deep shots and the big plays and just really containing both Tanner DeYoung and Kasim Ferdinand.
Now, I want to talk about this Carleton offense because they came out 2 and out, 2 straight runs, 2 and out, 2 straight runs, and then 2 and out, 2 straight runs. By the time Tanner DeYoung threw his first pass, Connor, it was 14-0, and it was almost the end of the first quarter. Now, we've seen this with Carleton throughout the year where they let Tanner open it up and the offense has success. But when you fall behind early like that, everyone knows you're going to pass. You have to. You have no choice.
Yeah.
So it kind of takes the skill and success out of it when teams can just sit back, pin their ears back, have Brubaker go right at you, and pass rush for the remainder of the game.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying there is it's totally right. Like, sure, yeah, you want to open up the field, but I mean, a lot of times we hear, set up the run. But when the run's not working, after your second or third 2 and out on 4, 5, 6 run plays, like, there needs to be an element, I think, of, okay, how do we adjust? Even if you want to keep running the ball, how do we adjust so that we can do this successfully? Because everything I saw, there were no lanes. It didn't matter if they were trying to run inside zone, off tackle, if they were trying to spread out wide and run kind of a stretch or a sweep play. Like, there was no lane available to run through, which then then shorthands your offense, because you're right. Then you're forced into passing and everybody knows that you're going to pass. So you can drop an extra DB, have 7, 8 in coverage if you want, take away the air. Like, it just, when Laurier figured out that they could basically take away the Carleton offense, it was done in the first quarter.
It was, and let's move on from there because that one ended up just being a rout. Like we mentioned, Laurier moving on to Western. The Queens Gales, Connor, homecoming, lots of classes of old alumni in the stands. They got after it. It was a very good game until the end of the third quarter, and then it just opened up. It was a good game from Toronto, but towards the end of it, they just kind of fell apart physically. They just kind of got tired, worn down from the run game, and it started to open up holes.
Yeah, it really did. And I mean, it was a close game in the first half. It was a great ball game in the first half, but you sent me a text because I couldn't be there. You sent me a text and you're like, Queens is about to blow this game wide open into the second half. And that's exactly what happened. But the one guy specifically that I want to talk about in this Queens game, because we had questions. We did. There was no playoff experience, limited reps early on in the season and last season. But obviously we're talking about Alex Vreekin here. We were curious as to how he was going to play, how he was going to show up, what he was going to look like. And I think we can safely say he delivered. He went 15 of 22 passing, 186 yards. He had a touchdown. He did have an interception in the game, but he was doing the right things, making the right reads, making the right throws. And it just allowed Queens to kind of play loose and fast.
Yeah, it did. And Jared Jasari as well had a fantastic day on the ground, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, one of those is a big 70-yarder that he housed to open up the scoring in that 21 unanswered to finish the game. But like you mentioned with Vreekin, in control, calm, big presence, made the throws when he had to, stood in the pocket, used his feet to escape a little. The game, though, Connor, to me, and I texted you this, centered around red zone offense. Queens went 5 of 5 in the red zone. 2 of those were field goals, 3 of them touchdowns. Toronto, meanwhile, 2 of 2. And you're thinking, oh, what are you talking about? They went 100% in the red zone. They went 2 for 2 with field goals. And that, to me, is where the game changed, is they tried to get in the end zone. Queens, very good defensive play, especially in the third quarter, to force them to settle for their last points of the game. David Osho ran a slant route, diving breakup from the halfback. But that was the difference. Where Queens was able to convert 3s to 6s, Toronto was unable to. And conversely, the Queens defense converted 6s to 3s. That changed the whole outlook on the game. Because if they had scored that touchdown, all of a sudden it's 17-20 instead of 20-13. And maybe Chisari doesn't rip off that 70-yard rush. You never know, right?
Yeah, no, and we did touch on this in the preview leading up to this game. One of the things that we said was going to, or would need to be addressed by Toronto, is the red zone offense from the Gales, because we said they were going to average almost, or that they were averaging almost 5 trips to the red zone a game, and that they were converting at a big rate. And for me, I don't even think it was how is Toronto going to stop it. It was how is Toronto going to respond? How are they going to create red zone opportunities for themselves? And they just couldn't get there in this one.
They tried with Adam Williams. There's a wheel route that went up the east sideline. The ball was placed nicely, but Adam had to kind of adjust and come back to it. If he's just running straight through, touchdown, changed the outlook on the game. Another key part, Connor, Toronto 17 penalties on the day.
Can't happen. You need to be disciplined in a playoff game.
A ton of false starts as well. And you can credit the environment for that, credit nerves. But the false starts just kind of came in waves. And there's one series where Kinsale Phillips makes a great rush. They get up the field, they're into plus territory, and it's false start. And all of a sudden they're looking at 3rd and 20, and they have to punt the ball off. Now, luckily for them, Dante Mastro Giuseppe ran for the first down after a high snap forced him to pull it down.
It's a good run too. That was like 30+ yard run.
Yeah, I mean, he covered a lot of turf on that one. But when you look at this game as a whole, Queens did what Queens did. And in talking with Coach Snyder after the game, I said the counters and powers really just started to wear out. And that's the point of it, right? I mean, you want to have that success and be in a position where you're in the game and you can continuously run the ball, run your power game, and wear on those defenses, push on the bodies, weigh on the D-line. We saw that in the AIDS Cup last year. they had to abandon it, right? Because Western was scoring so quickly
Yeah.
that they kind of had to go, this year they're positioning themselves to stay in that mode where you can keep pushing on the defense.
And just before we move on, talking about defense, I want to highlight the Queens defense in this one because we said that, and it's been a theme for Toronto all season long. They have gone with Adam Williams, right? So Queens knew that going in, shut it down. Toronto still leaned on Adam Williams in this game. He had 14 carries, but Queens only let him go for 58 yards. And I think that they did a really good job of limiting the opportunities from quarterback Kinsale Phillip in this one too. He was 50% completion rate in this one. Had like 140 yards through the air, one INT in the game, 2 total for the Blues offense. But I also thought that Queens did a really good job of limiting his opportunities on the ground because when Kinsale gets out of the pocket, he can make plays with his legs. But he ran the ball 16 times. Queens held him to under 50 yards rushing. So I think the defense of Queens really forced the hand of Toronto to try to go to the air, knowing that there wasn't really much on the ground, and it resulted in big plays and turnovers for the Gales defense.
I will add 2 shout-outs to this Gales defense. They are
Silas
a great
Hubert.
unit. Silas Hubert. This man is a monstrous human being. So he gets one. Ethan Martin gets the other. He's all over the field making plays, and with him back there playing Sam, you honestly, I'm going to kind of lean into draft stuff. Chris Aki. That's it.
Yeah, great comp.
He is super athletic and he flies. He's got a great nose for the ball.
Yeah. Chris Aki was making plays on the weekend too.
Ethan Martin, Silas Hubert, 2 great shoutouts. Of course, Ashton Miller Melanson. You had to have to pick, right? You have to have one if you're him. It's just not a Queens game without it. But Connor, we've got one more game, and this one was a barn burner. Windsor Lancers would not leave the Ottawa GGs alone.
They would not go away, man. They would not go away. What's an Ottawa road trap?
After going down 10-0, they clawed their way back. Then they went down 21-10, and they clawed their way back into the lead.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they went out 34-23, and it was Ottawa, Ottawa, all the way to the end. Windsor made it close with 11 seconds left, but the GGs reigned victorious.
They did. And for me, the turning point in this game was when Ottawa went down after the pick 6 from the Windsor Lancers. They were not in control of the game at that point. They were behind in the score, but JP Simonkinda just said, you know what? Let's relax. I got this. 16-yard touchdown run, powered his way into the end zone. Ottawa comes back with a safety, and they just took control of the game at that point.
Well, I want to mention something as well. For Marcel Belfay, they went for a 2-point convert after that JP Simonkinda play. So they were down 11. They get the touchdown, go for 2. There's 9:45 left on the clock.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches, Connor, would say that's chasing points. We don't need to get those yet. We'll make those points up later on when we have to worry about it. Let's just take the guaranteed kick and move on.
Coach Belfay said, nah, let's take it right now.
Chased it. He said, we've just gained momentum back on our side. We were down. JP pulls us up with a 16-yarder. Let's go. What happens on the next drive, Connor? Emmanuel Abogue-Gyan, 60-yard strip and scoop and score. He had the whole play to himself. Then it was just, okay, let's really pile it on. Let's grind the clock out and impose our will.
And just circling back to your point about going for the 2-point convert, part of me wonders if Campbell Fair's extra point getting blocked earlier in the game might have had anything to do with that.
It might have. But I mean, you've had him kick 3 field goals already and an extra point in the game. Now, I think it was just a huge let's get the momentum and keep it on our side. But it's a ballsy play because if they had missed that, Connor, they are sitting down. What's my math here? 6 points. And they need a touchdown. So it would have been a lot closer. And maybe Windsor doesn't go for 2 on their final touchdown. They kick it and we go to overtime. So chasing points does not always work, but Marcel Belfay made the call and he was rewarded this time. I'm not going to say he's going to be rewarded again because we don't know what happened. But let's talk about this Windsor team, Connor, because we've talked all year about
Damn good program right now. They looked very, very good in this playoff game. Alone at the quarterback position, dude. Like we were saying,
that's where I was going.
Go ahead, take it.
Because we said all year, this team cannot pass the ball. And then throughout weeks, I'd say 6, 7, 8, and into the playoffs, 9 and into the playoffs because we have the bye week, they've started to. Danny Skelton's been getting the yards going, getting it together on offense. 23 of 33, 268, and a touchdown. He played fantastic.
Yeah.
Joey Zorn was the leading receiver and rusher, but
ran the ball 30 times, dude.
They ran the ball 30 times. They were only able to muster up 100 yards flat.
Windsor in this one, credit where credit's due, because I don't think that Windsor necessarily did anything wrong in this game. I don't think Ottawa really did anything wrong in this game.
Except the strip sack and the pick six.
That's where I was going. Like, the pick six and the strip sack, those are plays I think that just happen in football. And I think really what this one came down to was just Ottawa made the bigger play in the bigger moment. And that's what really flipped the game. And
James Peter, did you see the TFL he had, Connor?
Oh, did I ever see? I was out of my seat.
That was probably the biggest hit I have seen this OUA season.
Yeah.
That was a great open field play by him. 9.5 tackles, a sack, 4 TFLs for James Peter on the day. Not to be outdone by Emmanuel Abogue-Gyan, though, who had 6, the strip, the recovery, and the 60-yard touchdown off of the
game.
So, Connor, Ottawa's heading to Queens next week. We get a 2-3 matchup. I'm excited for this one. I think that Ottawa's run game, they're so dependent on JP at this point after Miracles had 2 kind of iffy performances. This is going to come down to JP against Silas Hubert, Ethan Martin, and that Queens defense. I cannot wait. This is going to be a great week of football.
Yeah. And on the other side, right? On the other side of the province, we got Laurier matching up against the Western Mustangs,
who they played close in week 2.
Yes.
People are going to forget about that. But this week, we should have some good matchups. We will not spoil them, though, for you yet.
No. I was just going to say
Thursday's for.
Yeah. We will get there on Thursday. But just to kind of add that, Laurier kind of gave the blueprint for the OUA on what to do or what to try to do anyways.
Just nobody can duplicate.
No. And I think that's credit to the Laurier defense because they are so athletic, so fast.
They're playing at a high level right now, and it showed this weekend as well. But that's all for us, Connor. We got 3 games down. We have 4 teams remaining out of our 11 and 2 spots in the Yates Cup. So we will get to those later in the week. Stay tuned. Stay attached to CF Perspective for all your football needs. We've got great CFL playoff coverage with Marsh, DT. Connor and I have you guys covered with U Sports as well.
No Halloween costumes for us this weekend. We weren't
no.
quite as innovative as Marsh.
We might be able to get it for Tuesday, Connor.
Okay, maybe we'll try some.
I can definitely do it for Tuesday. I've got to pick up my costume tonight.
Perfect. I can't wait to see what it is.
It's a good one. It's very fresh, as the kids may say. You usually have good ones, though. You and Riley usually do a good job with your costumes.
Yeah, I actually don't have anything planned this year. It was recess last year. It was TJ Detweiler last year. That was a good one.
I had to take a break. I got my notebook. I could be Randall.
There you go.
All right. You guys know where to find us, at Wade Zank, at Connor R. O'Neill. Playoffs. What a wonderful time of year. I'm so happy we have the postseason.
Yeah, I cannot wait for this weekend, man. Saturday playoff games coming up in the OUA. We're out. We are out. Everybody go get in Wade's mentions and wish him a happy birthday. It'll be coming out a day later, but it's the man's birthday day. So everybody go say happy birthday to Wade.
Thank you, Connor.
What's on the